guys, good evening. This is Sergey, Ushanka Show, and we're starting our live. As I promised, it's 8 o'clock at 2000 military time. And as always, I'm gonna do on the computer, we'll be looking at. Actually, I gotta check the questions, see what this will do. There it goes. All right, so we got that done. So thank you for joining me. And turn sound off. All right, so here we go. I had to hide in my son's bedroom. So hi everybody. Hey, we got 36 people already. Thank you very much for joining. So I am open for your questions. Of course, you can click like. Although we didn't talk about anything yet. Okay, so volume is low. Let me see if we can fix that. What about now? Is it better? Does it sound? Okay, check the sound again. Is it better now? Hello from Detroit. Hello. Who owned grocery stores in Soviet Union? Government, of course. Everything was government owned. Okay, so sound is bad. Better. Need to be louder. I can disconnect. Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks. Great. I think I got my little thing going. Do you have any memories about 1980, 1984 Olympics boycotts? I remember boycotts. I don't remember exactly Olympics. I remember I was crying at the final when the bear in Moscow, when the bear was flying away. They had quite a cool presentation. And of course, we hardly had any information about Olympics in LA in 1984 because the Soviet Union boycotted those. And I think Cubans actually still went to Olympics in LA. I think there's the one who ignored it, but otherwise, like game wise, I don't remember much. And of course, that was at the height of the Cold War. Okay, so how were Afghanistan veterans integrated in Soviet society? They were never actually integrated really well because that war was kind of hush hush during Soviet Union. We didn't hear any uh, bad news, and so yeah, they weren't treated really well. We didn't have any special treatments and all that. What is that? PSDA, the stress, post stress. We didn't have anything like that studied. So those guys were hardcore in drinking. A lot of them got introduced to hard narcotics, drugs in Afghanistan, like heroin and stuff. So they actually, that was a pretty bad treatment of those guys during the Soviet Union. And of course, because a lot of times people just didn't realize how bad situation was. Okay, so we got already 86 people. I'm surprised. Thank you so much for joining. I thought today it's around the 4th of July work week, so people won't come in, but thank you so much for joining. All right, we got people from all over United States. Hi, Steve from San Francisco. Did you ever go to the communist camp when you were young? No, it wasn't communist camp. I called Young Pioneers Camp, Pionierski Lager, and I went once, but that was because of my eyesight. They had a special camp for like people with poor eyesight, and I hate it so much. I think it was 1 week camp. I prefer to stay in the village with my grandparents. Do you still consider your dog to be useless? We have a little Yorkie dog, and he definitely creates a lot of business. Like it cost us about $2,000 in carpet repairs. We paid about $2,000 when someone drove over his leg. So he created a lot of business. So he was really useful for businesses, but like I don't see a lot of like my kids don't take care of the dog as they promised to. So I personally am not a big fan of. Oh, we got uh, somebody donated $10. Thank you so much from Dallas. And I need to catch that question really quick. Howdy from Dallas. You attended university. How did you study and how do you use your university education in your current job? Thanks for getting me through your tedious grading of student summer pages. You're welcome. Okay, I finished, it's actually called Institute, so it's a Kiev Polytechnical Institute, and I got degree in electronics. I finished it in 1988. No, 88. I finished high school. Then I went to college. So I finished around. Hold on, I got all confused here. So yeah, first time I came to America in 1995. So I was already. Oh my goodness. Okay, I finished high school in 1988. In 1995, I was still a student, so I finished I think like 1996. And the timing was horrible for me because it's right when the Soviet Union collapsed, right? So I got into college in 1988, so it was still Soviet Union. 1991, Soviet Union was no more. So when I graduated, it was literally like no jobs. I had a job. I was the so-called like young or junior engineer. Hey, regular cars. Thank you for. I was told that you mentioned my channel on your channel, so thank you so much for doing that. So anyway, back to the. So I got out of college with degree, and so we're pretty much like no jobs. I worked for a little bit as a junior electrical engineer, and then they weren't paying like they were delayed on the pay, like 6 months in the salaries. So I ended up quitting the job, and I worked like a something similar to like Radio Shack. They had a photo processing. They sold some electronics, like TVs, VCRs, and stuff. So I worked there for a while. Favorite Russian built aircraft. Thank you, Tony, for your donation, $2. My father worked at Antonov airplane in Kiev, so my favorite airplanes, of course, Antonov, and I love Kukuruznik AN2 Anushka. I think that one is the coolest plane, of course, uh, be, not because of this characteristic, but I think it looks really neat. Okay, we're moving along. What were fountain pens like in Soviet Union? I actually used those in first, second, and third grade, I believe, and that's one of the reason I'm officially like I'm a lefty. I was born left-handed, but I told in my video my teachers and my parents helped me to switch to the right hand, and one of the reasons because we use fountain pens. So when you write with your left hand, you smear what you write. So my teacher was like, "Hey, I need your help." I asked my parents, "I need you guys' help to switch Serежа to the right hand." So every time I was doing homework, I'm trying to switch pen to the left hand, and my mom would be sitting next to me with a ruler, and she will smack my hand. So I switched back to the right hand. It sounds tough, but hey, I'm right now both hand. I can write with my left hand as my right hand. So how do you guys say in America? No pain, no gay, right? Or something like that. So there was pain, but now I'm really like utility guy. I can use both hands, so I'm thankful for that. It was painful when I was a kid, though. Okay, moving along. I've got a lot of hellos. I've got 174 people watching. Wow, I'm surprised you guys, so many of you joined. Thank you so much for joining. And actually, we have even one dislike, so we have somebody who doesn't like my life. So anyway, thank you for uh, joining this evening. And do you still? Okay, we could talk about dog. What was the best part of the USSR? My childhood. I'm happy that I was a kid during the Soviet Union because I think childhood was amazing. Uh, you don't notice all the limitations as adult. So I think I had perfect timing on that. I had my childhood as a Soviet kid, and then I was 20 when the Soviet Union collapsed. So I was young enough and ambitious enough to change, learn English. I learned it pretty much by myself, and other things. So it was perfect timing for me, pretty much in that matter. Okay, we are moving along in your questions. Thank you guys for donations. We got another 9.99. Janet says hello from California. Hi Janet, thank you so much for joining and for your donation. I thought you might have a question too, but thank you so much. All right, so guys, don't forget to like this show. We got 177 people watching and only 45 likes. If I had a ruler, I have to smack you on your hand because you don't put proper likes. You need to pick up the pace. Have you read Voices of Chernobyl? No, it's when you kind of like a part of that event. I really didn't like look into any information about Chernobyl. It was just kind of like, yeah, it was part of the deal. But when, after watching that HBO Chernobyl show, it's just kind of brought all those memories back, and I'm glad there's a technology out there that I can share it with the world, and people found it interesting because at that time, it was like, well, what about fast food in the USSR? We had really no fast food joints except maybe пельменная, where they make пельмени. Um, how your parents permission to leave your village? Um, my Okay, my uncle first left the village. So my mother had a brother, and he had a letter from the school because he was so good at painting and drawing. So they sent him to Kiev to art school because he was amazing. And my mom just told me that she was literally pushed to go to Kiev because she said there's no future besides hard work in the village. So for the kids in like 50s, 60s, I guess there was a way to go, but like peasants themselves didn't have passports, so they needed to ask permission to move if they wanted to. So they were pretty much like serfs, Soviet style. Okay. Have spending time in Gulag, of course. I didn't spend any time in Gulag, otherwise I won't be talking to you. Gulags were more like a Stalin era in 30s, and after like up to 50s, and I think after that it went downhill from there. Do you have any memories of USSR reporting 1989 Armenian earthquake? Yes, it was a really horrible. I think there was a whole country kind of gathered together. There were donations trying to rebuild the cities. I'm trying to remember the name of this town that got totally destroyed. But then, interesting detail on that earthquake. One of the reasons why it was so horrible, not an earthquake, but the results, is because people were stealing stuff, like stealing concrete. So in the construction, those apartment buildings were more sand than concrete. And if you dilute concrete with sand, it doesn't hold as good as supposed to. The earthquake was so bad, like the damages were so bad because the construction like was not done correctly for the area. And I remember reading an article. They, when they were cleaning up the rubble, they actually found one of the managers, like construction managers, his apartment, and in his apartment there were bags and bags of concrete. So they're stealing concrete to resell to private people who needed concrete. Because you actually can't just go to the Home Depot, Soviet Home Depot, buy concrete. It was not available. So people had to steal it from construction sites and then resell it. That's a business Soviet style. So, as I mentioned, Aaron Tinenbaum keep on asking questions about the village and the peasants. As I said, my grandparents couldn't live, but somehow the children, most children left. That's one of the reasons why right now Ukrainian Russian villages is like gone or being abandoned because the older generation is dying out and the younger generation, like my parents, the so-called baby boomers, they left. Was there any real bad crimes growing up as a kid? Yes, of course, we had a lot of crimes, and if you're interested to watch like one of the most horrifying stories about serial killer in Soviet Union, I recommend movie Citizen X. It's an American movie, but I was really impressed. They did it really good in that show. It's about mass murderer Chikatilo. I recommend. I was like, wow, that did good. I mean, there was a little bit, American kind of view of the Soviet people, a little bit on a too much side, but generally I was impressed. So I strongly recommend. Then, of course, the thing is, they never reported crimes. Like there would be nothing in a newspaper on a TV that hey, they found two dead bodies in the apartment or something like that. So it felt really safe because we just didn't have any access to information. Okay, moving along. you and your ancestors sacrificed a lot to try for socialism. You know, I don't know what you call it sacrifice. My grandparents didn't have a choice. You know, it's just like, okay, you can join us and try to socialism, or you can get on a cattle train and go to Siberia, enjoy a different kind of socialism. So they had to donate their animals, their horses. Like my grandparents and their parents were quite well to do. So they had a choice, or lose everything and go to Siberia, or lose everything and stay a local. So that's what they did. They stay local. Do you know anyone that survived Siberia prison? I didn't meet anyone in person, but I talked to one guy in our village that he actually escaped the train to Siberia and then was hiding and came back. So he survived. Okay, moving along. Got a lot of greetings. Hello. John donated $2. Thank you so much, John. I don't see any questions, but thank you for your donation. Hello from Buenos Aires. This is cool. How amazing that modern technologies. You know, I'm just amazed. Can't find any better word because you know I grew up in a dial-up phone, which kids even in modern days don't understand why the phone is called dial-up or dialed number, right? They'll punch the numbers, but they call dial the number. And here we are. I'm talking to the whole world, people from America, from Canada, Buenos Aires, Australia. My goodness, здравствуйте, Australia. They write me in Russian from Australia. How cool is that? And I remember first time when I saw a real American computer. It was a Pentium ready 486. And oh my goodness, that was like $6,000, coolest thing in the world. Some professor owned it in Moscow, and I thought I died and went to heaven. Oh, even New Zealand. Holy cow, Kiwi land in town. Thank you, Stephen. That's awesome. All right, moving along. Did Ukraine have any type of constitution? Of course, they had a constitution was probably like copy paste from a Soviet constitution. So yes, they did. Sounds like we have a lot of regular cars gang here, and I'm sure it was probably something about my cars videos. And it's kind of sad because my family never had a car. I was on the list, waiting list, that 9 year waiting list, but Soviet Union collapsed before my waiting list was up. So, yeah, my mom was very excited when she put me on the waiting list. I think I had a video about it. Okay, we got 200 people already here. Holy cow, thank you guys. I'm so surprised and happy because I was considering, like, man, this is a really bad day to do live. Did you or anyone smoke weed in Soviet Union? You know, in my time, uh, there was really no drug issues in Soviet Union, at least in my area. So um, it was alcohol pretty much what the people are getting, like taking care of their troubles. After Soviet, I think drug usage exploded after Gorbachev went hardcore after drinking, and I had a video about it. And like Ukraine is really famous for poppy seeds. Like a lot of our dishes, like sweet breads and stuff like that, it's always poppy seeds on the top. And that was a nightmare because druggies went to the villages and they were cutting poppy tops to make their heroin. It actually was outlawed for a while. You couldn't grow poppy seeds because of that. But before in the Soviet Union, like I don't know personally anyone who was on drugs, doing drugs. Oh my goodness, you're right. There's a lot of RCR crew. Well, hello from Greece. How's it going? I was in Greece just recently. We went on a little cruise from Italy and Greece. That was fantastic. I was really enjoyed it. Hello from Ann Arbor and Kirill Alexandrov. How's it going? England, Oregon. I'm moving along. I'm trying not to skip any questions, but I think I did. I love poppy seed muffins. Me too. So, were people afraid to call police in the Soviet Union? How did the law enforcement work? I would say really afraid. Uh, I never had problems with police. You know, you just dial 02 on the phone number and they'll come, and usually will be some probably some domestic abuse, drunk people. So we didn't have any problems. Okay, we got another question. Was the population informed by immediate nuclear detonation? Awesome question, and thank you for your donation. So, you know, if you remember, we're talking about when the Gorbachev came to power. He was trying to do some changes, right? And so he had the three major slogans, which is everyone knows. Okay, slogan number one, I wish you could yell, but it's perestroika, right? So it's like rebuilding existing structure. The second one was ускорение, which is like speeding up, and that one kind of fell away soon after. And the third one was glasnost, which is like openness. So we started getting different news in the newspapers, and it was quite a shocker because they announced not before but after they'll be like, yeah, we just had a major you know, nuclear test in Kazakhstan. I think it's called Semipalatinsk, and that was official announcement. Hey, we got this explosion done, and our scientists studied whatever results of explosion. But my main shock when I experienced glasnost was when in the Soviet newspapers they announced about sinking of the Soviet nuclear submarine somewhere in the Caribbean, I think somewhere around Cuba. So this we're talking 1987, maybe 88. There was, and the whole fact that they admitted that it's a submarine sunk, I was like, I was totally shocked. I mean, I couldn't just like believe it. My goodness. So that was my first experience with this glassness when they started kind of showing this news. Prior to that, I mean, we had huge, big events that never went on paper, and I'm not talking like nuclear. I mean, I understand like nuclear plant had meltdown, small meltdown, they won't report it, but sometimes I think early 80s or late 70s, there was a plane crash, and the whole soccer team Pachtakor like got killed. One of the main league soccer teams killed in air crash. It was zilch. It was zero information on TV, on newspapers, like nothing. Oh, there's a newspaper disappeared. Oh my goodness, we got. I never could say your nickname, Lowly from '86. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for your donation. You absolutely deserve a big bump in subscribers. Keep it up. You offer a rare historical voice. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support. Is the fact that another fellow YouTuber uh, found my channel when I was still like a catfish, so I'm working on the bottom of YouTube. And he found me and he offered me a lot of advice and support. I thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was great to have support from another YouTuber, especially experienced YouTuber like you. Thank you so much, and all the best in China. How much bribery took place in the USSR? Depends where, but it was a quite popular thing to do. It was called like lubricating, so you need to lubricate the hand to get things done. But the biggest corruption scandal with bribes was during it's called Uzbekistan cotton uh, situation when they were faking productions of cotton and taking money from the like selling to the government this cotton and then taking that cash and bringing it back to Moscow to bribe people so they won't get caught. And I think Andropov started uh, researching that topic, and I think one of the reasons that's a rumor he didn't die like because he got sick. He actually got shot, and as I think I read some of the reasons because someone got scared that he will find the level of corruption in the Soviet government on this хлопковое дело they call it in Russian, cotton business or cotton. Okay, very good show. Thank you. We got even Canadian dollars. We got some maple syrup coming this way from Canada. Thank you so much. Um, in USSR, was knowing people in the party important, the career life in general? Well, definitely connections were связи, or I think I talked about there's the word blood. And don't confuse it with блядь. The bad Russian word means whore, but blood means like people, you have connections. So uh, it was quite important. Like if you want to get a job, you need to know people. Uh, you know, if you want to move up in a career, some people from the top can help you. And a lot of times you could see, like in the upper echelons of Soviet government, like even right now in Russia, if you look on the people surrounding Putin, it's people from way back from his history. There's Rosenbergs, they used to be in his wrestling team or something. There's the people who were his neighbors or they worked in Leningrad together. So this is kind of tradition of Soviet the people. They kind of tend to those connections, the people they trust, they move up with them and help each other to climb the ladder. So yes, there was a question about my favorite Soviet car, and I guess I have to say Zaporozhets, just because it looks so cool. There's the early one, the hand so-called with the ears. It has the little air intakes on the sides because it was a rear engine, air-cooled car. Okay, we'll try to move along. My goodness, I didn't realize how many people came from car review site. It's so cool. What do you think of Cossacks? Great channel, thank you. Depend what Cossacks. I mean, we have a Ukrainian Cossacks from Zaporizhia region, and then we had a Cossacks on the Don area. And I actually met one Cossack here in America. He came from South Bend, and he was on the German side during the World War II, and he managed to run away. So yeah, I mean they were semi-militarized troops, and paid the they played a big role in the history of Ukraine and as well as Russia. They were always on the outskirts pushing. Okay, moving along. 218 people watching, but only 121 likes. Let me get my ruler. I need to smack this phone. So you guys switch from the left hand to the right hand and start clicking on the. No, in this case, you need to switch to the left hand and start clicking on likes. Was it hard to integrate yourself into America? It's probably need. I'm planning to make a video about it because uh, I came first time in 1995 and on exchange program to work in a summer camp here in Michigan, and that was a summer camp for inner city kids from Chicago. So my experience with America was quite different. I mean, there's like 250 black kids, black cancers, everyone from like South Side. I don't know, still knows the gang side. So South Side, West Side, Chicago. So I had a quite a shocker there. You know, so talking about integrating at that point, I was just surviving. Um, it was just hardcore. You know, they speak English differently, so I learned English by using books, and then you come to America and it's picture. You learn how to drive a stick car if you know how to drive stick car. I don't. You learn by the book, right? And then people toss you in the car like, go ahead, go, and you like you know that there's two pedals. Hey, the regular car guys can tell you all about stick shift, but you know there's the two pedals. You know there's but you learn it by the book. But you have to drive. So this is how I was in America first summer. I learned by the book, and suddenly I'm like in this country, and everyone around me speaks this English that I'm like, what are you talking about? So it was really hard, but I was going back and forth four times. So I kind of had a slow pace. So then when I had a blind date and I married an American lady that I'm still together 20 years later, there was some challenges, of course, different culture, and so that was quite challenging. All right, so we got Ross Krupnik, but the last name I could tell. Oh yeah, my dad is from Kiev. You see, I could bust you right there just by the last name. That's my KGB training. Just kidding. Do you kids feel more old world or new world? Or do your kids? Um, I always felt between the words not Soviet enough for Russian Ukrainian friends, but still elsewhere to American friends. Well, so your parents are also like dad is Ukrainian and mom is American because this is what happened. I tried to teach my kids a Russian language. I'm a Russian speaker. My first language is Russian, second Ukrainian. but I give up. It was just not working really well. So my kids feel 100% American. They like only they notice that I'm foreign when have some new friend coming up and was like, "Your dad has an accent," and my daughter like, "No, my dad doesn't have accent." So they get used to my way of speaking, so they even don't realize that I have an accent. So yeah, they feel 100% American. There's no issues there. Another question from Vincentiu Dennis: was it popular for people to learn foreign languages other than English in the USSR? Uh, did people practice it? They don't travel much. The only time we studied languages would be in school, starting in the fourth grade. And after World War II, most of what was studied is German. The idea that you study the language of your potential enemy. Later, most schools switched to English because of potential enemies, right? So I started studying English in fourth grade, so 2 lessons a week, I think. But of course, what did you practice? You don't have English newspapers, you don't have English TV, no English books. So pretty much after you're done with school, your basics knowledge just goes away. And so this is how I started learning English on my own. It's just when the Soviet Union collapsed, I started like, uh, maybe there'll be foreign companies coming to Ukraine, and if I have my electrical engineering degree and English, I'll be a good candidate to get a decent job for like Motorola or General Electric. So I started studying English, and also I was corresponding with a lot of people from all over the world. That time, it was no emails. You write the letter, you mail the letter. I had a from South Korea, Portugal, England, America, Germany, all over the place, and that helped me a lot with my learning English. But of course, it's writing, not speaking. So speaking was took me a while to actually start talk. It was a challenge. Okay, moving along. Did the old Soviet republics hate the other ones? Well, historically, like Azerbaijanis and Armenians didn't like each other. Baltic states weren't big fans of Russians, but they were fine with Ukrainians because they kind of saw them as oppressed too, I guess. But that's the only I know. So mostly that down Asian part and southern part, they just had historical dislike of each other. But otherwise, I don't think it was a lot of. Okay, wow, 236 people. Thank you for joining. Hey, Sergey, did you learn any computer programming and studying electrical engineering? No, we had no computer programming at the Kyiv Polytechnical Institute, but I had some in the ninth and the 10th grade in high school. We never called high school, but we had this basic, those like, what the word is. So there's the main, like, who can think of it? So the mainframe, right, was in the back room, and then we have a monitors and keyboards. So we learned a little bit of Fortran language, Fortran, I think it was. Uh, but that was the end of it. One of my guys from my class, he actually went hardcore into programming, and he was, I think he's doing, I'm not sure where he is now, but he went from back then. He saw the potential, but unfortunately, uh, I didn't learn anything programming wise. There was nothing in the Polytechnical Institute. All right, I need to catch up. I'm bribing you guys for likes, so don't say anything. Oh, sorry. Shh. Have you heard of Ukrainian Free Territory Black Army? Were you educated about it? What's your thoughts about it? Well, you're probably talking, it's a question from Hayden. Thank you for donation. You're probably talking about Makhno and his anarchist army. We had some because at some point they were on the side of, they were fighting with Reds against the white armies. And then when they took care of the white army, Reds turned around and destroyed Makhno. So we had some funny movies. Actually, you can probably find them on YouTube. Svadьба в Malinovke, I think you can see. And there was more like jokes, not serious, but we never realized how actually big was that movement in southern Ukraine. So, yes. Okay. Hello from New Zealand. You look like your grandfather. Yeah, that's as especially these lines, like he developed those. And besides looking, my mom always said that she a little bit kind of scared because I act like him too a lot. So, but I guess it's a good thing. He definitely had a hard life. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with questions now on the bottom. Please tell me you taught your children Russian, Ukrainian, their relatives. I'm Swedish and never was taught. I think later on maybe my kids will be sorry, but I tried really hard with my daughter. She was first kid, and it's just when one parent is English speaking, one is Russian speaking. If you don't work together on that, it just doesn't work really well. And at some point, I just give up. And I even didn't try with Oliver, although he kind of now become interested in Russian language because we go. Um, we went last summer to Ukraine to visit parents, and he actually liked a lot. So, and he plays World of Tanks, so of course you can learn some Russian there. So yeah, unfortunately, and it's hard to maintain a language if you don't use it. I know a lot of people who came here like as kids and they lost completely Russian language. They may like understand, but they can't speak. It's quite bizarre how you drift from one language to another, especially when you're young. Like I will always may, retain my accent because I came first time at 24. Although it's kind of getting smoother, still it will remain with me forever. And I guess it's gives me, so to say, character. But if you come like 10, 11, up to 16-year-old, if you live in an American environment, your accent will disappear and your your Russian language will disappear. You won't be able to speak much. Greetings from Tennessee. How's it going? Did you have any problems to get semiconductors? Where were you studying? I didn't do any practical like applications while we was studying. We just was theory, so we didn't have any issues with those because we didn't need them. And I said, in the end of it, like my final stage of studying was just a mess because our teachers weren't paid well at that time. They were delayed with payments. So a lot of times, like if you want to get a good grade in some lab, they're just like, yeah, you might want to bring a bottle of vodka, some cash, and some snacks, and your group will get good grades. I actually was in charge of working the grades, unfortunately, but at that time it was just a mess. Okay. Did Soviet people like Germans in general while you were growing up? Uh, it was a lot of course, heritage for World War II. I don't say we like them or dislike them, but when we played like wars, there'll be Indians versus cowboys, индейцы против ковбойцев, or we played in a war, so there'll be Germans versus Soviets. We never call them, Nazis or fascists. They'll be like, okay, you two are Germans and we are good guys, and they're like, why do we need to be Germans? Like, well, somebody has to be, so go. But generally it was neutral, I would say. Plus, East Germany was kind of our guys, and someone asked me question like, do I remember any products from East Germany? And I remember their soap. They had I guess it was pretty decent quality soap, hand soap, I say, or like brick. But they had pictures of pretty German girls, like really pretty German girls. Anyway, there was a question: have I been in Chicago many times? I live about 90 miles from Chicago, and we go there. I don't say often, but at least a couple of times a year. Stay in downtown and just hang out. So yeah, I like Chicago a lot. I like it actually better than New York City. Chicago downtown, I think, is nicer, more compact. Oh, you're gonna hate me so much, but I never watched Doctor Zhivago movie. Actually, a long time ago, when I worked at the furniture store, some guy, when he found out I'm originally from Soviet Union, he actually brought me a videotape of Doctor Zhivago. But for some reason, I never had the chance to actually sit down and watch it. There's a list of movies I must watch, but Doctor Zhivago is not. I didn't watch it yet, unfortunately. Okay. It must be so hard for your kids to understand and talk to non-American relatives. Yeah, there is a challenge, of course. But my all my relatives that don't speak English, they're back in Ukraine. My brother, my mother, and dad. So Over here, they have no issue. And there's a, sometimes there's actually positive things. Like my wife doesn't speak any Russian, so when my mother was visiting, I had a really good time because I could translate whatever I want, and that was awesome. Like my mom was saying, I was like, hey, my mom just said you're supposed to listen to your husband and obey him in every step of the way. I had a good time. Anyways, moving along. Was hunting a thing in Soviet Union? Um, I don't say a thing. It was hardly anything you can hunt. Like I saw so much more wild animals here in Michigan that I ever seen in Ukraine. Like I spent every summer in the village, um, and I saw in all my years in Soviet Union, I saw moose from like far, far away, and I saw two rabbits. Kidding you not, that's it. I came to Michigan in 1995. In 1 week, I saw more wild animals than I saw in my entire life in Ukraine. Deer, rabbits, woodchucks, raccoons. It's just like, oh my goodness, it was just insane. So yeah, people were hunting. The only thing you could hunt would be ducks. Pretty much it. Just everything else was hunted out like wolves, anything like that. So USSR cars are becoming so fashionable to drive here. It's crazy. There's if you go on the Craigslist on Chicago Craigslist, there's a guy who repairs and sells Soviet Lada Vaz cars, asking like around $10,000. Uh, I never had a car back there, so for me, I don't have any sweet memories about any fun on the back seat or stuff like that. Taking girls for drives, so I kind of look at those cars. For me, still mentally, it's like yeah, whatever. It's a Soviet car. So a lot of it, I think it's those sweet memories of your youth when you were a wild teenager. Uh, like I made a video once that you know I totally missed all this American car culture. Like I still don't know what like my coworkers sometimes told me like I need to experience roadhead, and my wife refused to explain what it is. I still don't know. Just there's some American culture things that it just I'm so not into it. I have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, I'm trying to get a little bit more to answer your questions. No English books. No, I mean there probably if you go to college like university to study English, you'll have some like Jack London or some other approved authors, but usually you couldn't just go and get an English book. Uh, so yeah, that was a really couldn't practice. How did the education system was? I mean, it was fine in my understanding. It was, I would say, expression. Like in sports, you can like when you play teams that better than you, you play up, right? Uh, so the Soviet school was like this play up system. They children that were not strong in studying, they were just like coming along for a ride, getting C's. But then as long as you're done with 8 years, you out and you go to work to the factory. So it was pretty tough. It's 6 days a week, five, 6 lessons every day, a lot of math, later chemistry and all that. So schools were pretty challenging. Then if you want to go to college, it's free, but you have to pass entry test. If you don't pass entry test or don't score good enough, you won't be able to get into college. So I think some people say it was a bad system, but I'm really thankful because my education helped me to get a decent job here in America, and I still remember a lot of stuff from schools from back then because they drilled in my head. We it wasn't good about like sports and stuff. That was not good in our schools, but here I think it's a bit too much. They too focus on the sports instead of who has Chinese cars in the USA now? Well, you can buy a Buick, which is assembled in China and shipped over here. I forgot what it's a Buick something. That's a little SUV. It's completely Chinese built. Buick SUV in a GM factory, and they ship it here. I think it's the only Chinese car that we have here. Okay. What tips would you have for someone wanting to learn Russian? With modern technologies, I think it could be pretty easy to learn Russian. You just need to, there's probably tons of YouTube channels that teach you Russian, and you can find a lot of just Russian, like movies, cartoons, they have subtitles. The main idea is to immerse yourself in the language, and then like you force yourself to, like, at least one day a week try to speak Russian, like name everything on you in your room Russian, like put yellow stickers, and this is dresser, commode, this is a mirror, zerkala. And if you just keep on working it, you have no choice but to memorize the stuff. This is how I learned English. Okay, there was a question with a small donation. Thank you so much for that. Okay, guys, can we get to 200 likes? Because I mean, 169 likes. It's not terrible, but it's not great either, if you know what I mean. So why don't you show me support, and we need to reach 200 likes. So there was a question about Duga 3, which is the giant uh, radar system was next to Chernobyl, and as a lot of this conspiracy talks about, that was one of the reasons why Chernobyl blew up. But I don't remember any interference. In fact, like we only had over-air TV, and I don't remember any problems. And like in the village, they will have this tall wooden post and then antenna on the far top, trying to catch some TV stations from Kiev or Chernigov. So I don't remember any, but that was, I think, pointed west, so it might created some problems west of that installation. Can Ukrainians own guns now? I'm not sure, honestly. I don't really watch events in Ukraine a lot, so I cannot tell you. They probably still can own hunting rifles. I think they kind of loosen up a little bit on handguns, but I'm not sure. Do you practice your Second Amendment? I don't know what you mean. I'm not a part of well-regulated militia. I can tell you that. But I end up buying a Mosin Nagant rifle, and I bought Nagant revolver. But it's not because I like shooting. I was just so shocked. Question, Sergey, why you never smile? You got me there. Well, it's my cool image. Cool guys don't smile. Um, just a habit. It's when I grew up. I remember I was looking at the pictures like of American astronauts in newspaper. I was like, why are they grinning? What? You know, you don't smile if it's not funny. If you walk on the street of Moscow or Kiev and you grin, there's something not right with you. So, okay, 215 likes. Here we go. We got almost as much like as much people of you, and that's something new. Okay. Uh, Slavic languages are very hard. I agree, they are hard because of the endings. It's like a Spanish. So yeah, it's pretty challenging language, but hey, people learn it. Hey, buddy, how different is Ukrainian than Russian? Is it close to Polish? I won't say it's close to Polish. It's definitely closer to Russian. It's pretty similar. It's maybe like Portuguese and Spanish. There's some different words, but if you're Russian and you live in Ukraine, probably in less than 6 months you'll start understand Ukrainian quite easily. It's about filtering some. Like I understand Polish pretty good, because you just filter that sound, and it sounds quite a bit like mixture of Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian. So congratulations on 20,000. Okay, thank you guys. Yeah, it's a really. I'm a little bit overwhelmed because I'm kind of that guy that like to have things under control. Like I like to answer comments, participate in conversation under my videos, but it just went completely berserk. Is that correct word? Berserk, right? I just there's people talking under my videos. I can't even see what's going on and anything like that. So okay, we got a questions again. Okay, we answered that already. You see, like even right here, I can't really catch up with all the comments. Do you consider taking people who were essentially serfs and their grandson being a college educated engineer was an accomplishment of Soviet society? There's a nice mixture of Soviet society and the personal qualities, you would say. Like, for example, I have a friend of mine. We went together, same school, and actually, like, his family was, I would say, Soviet intelligentsia. Father was a Russian Soviet officer. I'm saying Russian. I'm getting as bad as American calling Soviets Russians. Kind of slap myself. Anyway, so his father was a Soviet officer. Mother was a teacher. They actually were Russians, so he was a Russian guy. So after we finished school together, we were good friends. So there's another example: Ukrainians and Russians. We just were doing just fine. He went to military college. I went to Polytechnical Institute. Soviet Union collapsed. I started learning English. He just graduated as an officer. Uh, so I started learning English. He started drinking. Now he's just nobody in Kiev. I guess he got retired because as an officer he can retire early. Lives in a little tiny apartment, drinks beer every day, and doesn't care. So we kind of had the similar starting points. He actually, like, his parents were more hardcore. Like they pushed him. Like I don't think he really wanted to go to military college, but it was like, okay, your father is a military, your grandpa was a military, your uncle is a military, you must be military. And actually, he went to really cool military colleges for the anti-aircraft missiles. It was one in Kiev, and if you get become graduate as an officer from that college, it means you'll be deployed to like East Germany or Hungary, so I'm outside of Soviet Union, which was the coolest thing. Okay, Sergey, how will you take care of your mom when she's older with you in US? Well, I still have a brother in Kiev. He's 15 years younger than me, so he kind of takes care of her, help financially. I bought her house in the village that she originally from, and I'm kind of helping her out. So she's doing all right now. She is welcome to come here anytime she wants, but I don't think she wants to. I have a question about it. I don't know how to get a poster, but you can find the pictures. I guess some guys really like the thumbnail on my video about Soviet music, where they have those like Soviet style pinup girls. If you Google 2014 Russian Olympics pinup calendar, you will find the link and shows all the pictures from that calendar. And that picture that I showed is actually not the hottest picture out there. I don't know if you can buy a poster, but you can find uh, easily that image. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left. So let me see if I can answer some more questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It's really impressive. I truly enjoyed to have you with me. Did you get ice cream in Soviet Union? Of course. Uh, we had ice cream, Eskimo, and it was pretty good, quite inexpensive, and I think it's one of the famous thing about Muscovites. They eat ice cream when it's totally cold, like it's 20 below, and they walk around the street eat ice cream. I liked so-called fruit ice cream. It was like a different fruits flavor. It was so sweet, but I could only eat half of the ice cream because after that it was just like too much. So yes, we did have ice cream. Okay, let's see if I can. Can you close the door, please? It's too much noise for people. Well, close the door, then you can get your. Sorry, we got my kid. I'm in Oliver's room and he's getting fireworks. It's his room. Dad just pays mortgage, but it is his room. Have you watched the show of the Americans? No, I didn't. I'm kind of trying to be careful about uh, not to waste too much time watching shows because there's so many of them. So I'm very selective, and I watch movies once in a while. But if anything like a year after year, I just don't watch them because I think it's a lot of time wasted. The only exception was it's kind of silly, but I watched Game of Thrones because I read books first, so I wanted to see how they put it in the movies. Um, Otherwise, I'm watching right now the Das Boot about German submarines, so that's cool. I like that show. So like, I'm probably gonna watch Catch 22. Right, there's another one, but as I said, is otherwise is kind of set up the standard. I'm not gonna waste my time on watching this. I mean, there's so much out there. I used to be a big deal on the sci-fi, science fiction stuff, but it's just I prefer reading books. I'm catching up a lot on reading uh, books about Soviet Union right now. Reading that American Engineer in Stalin's Russia. That's a huge eye opener for me. Just I strongly recommend everyone to read that book too. It's Memoirs of Zara Witkin, American Engineer in Stalin's Russia. That's pretty cool. Really good show. Okay, let me see if I can answer a couple more questions. How do you feel about Putin? That's really thorny question. I actually like him in the beginning when he replaced Yeltsin because Yeltsin was such an embarrassment to the Russia. I got a Rick donated $10. Keep on doing what you're doing. Tavarish, best to you and your family. Thank you so much, Rick. It's actually, my goodness, we even crossed $100 in donations. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And it's interesting. I'm not asking for donations, but people just feel like it's the right thing to do. So thank you so much. Um, so, anyways, about Putin, um, and I'll answer Brad's question. He just donated $5. Thank you, Brad, about traveling. But when he started pretty much kind of changing the whole system, like almost like putting Soviet Union together, but his style. I mean, it's so corrupt; it's just insane. And of course, who would ever imagine that the Russians and Ukrainians be fighting wars, like that Crimea conflict and Eastern Ukraine conflict, and of course, what they saying on the Russian TV is just total baloney about Nazis in Ukraine. Like I go to Ukraine almost every year, and I'm a Russian speaking guy. I speak Russian in on the streets, and I never ever had any problems. So yeah. Anyways, and there was a question from Rick how hard it was to travel between various Warsaw Pact countries. I don't know how it was hard to travel between, like, if you live in Poland, you want to go to Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia at that time. But in order to get out of the Soviet Union, it was very hard. It's a little bit easier if you go to Poland versus you go to Western Germany, but you still had to get a passport um, for traveling abroad, and you can't just get a passport because you wanted to. You need to have a spravka document for that. We did not have any fireworks for private Soviet citizens. They just had big cannons to celebrate. So yeah, I never traveled abroad in the Soviet Union. Only after it collapsed, I started smuggling vodka to Poland, which I'll make one video one of these days. Did you like Soviet national anthem? Well, when our Soviet team wins and they play it, definitely I did like. But the problem, they played it every morning at 6 a.m. So, for example, if I need to get up at 6 a.m., I'll turn the radio on because it goes completely dead silent after midnight, and it pretty much just starts instantly playing Soviet anthem. And if anyone made the mistake of putting your favorite song on the alarm, you're gonna hate that song really quick. So when you wake up in the morning to the Soviet anthem, you don't wake up like, oh, let's go and build some more socialism. You like, 6 a.m. Gosh, I gotta get up. But I think it's a really powerful song tunes, and actually, I am planning to make a video. I wanted to translate Soviet anthem like word by word, and I'm planning to work discuss it. So like Союз нерушимый. So they sing in Union Unbreakable or Undestructible, and we'll talk about it. And then Республик Свободных, of free republics, how free the republics were. So that's my plan. I don't know if that sounds interesting to you guys. No, they didn't sell flags in Soviet Union, only little ones for like a May parade, but no, we didn't really had a chance to purchase those. Like you didn't have like on the balcony to stick your flag out. We didn't have that. It was only like official business. You don't trust regular citizen with a Soviet flag. So I'm thinking I can make the video. If it sounds interesting, we'll work through the like word per word. Um, I think we have a $2 donation from Charlemagne. Oh, think I said it correctly. Charlemagne, right? Everyone should donate. This true stories applies. So thank you so much, Jack to Japan. Appreciate your donation. So yeah, I think it'll be kind of interesting because like my son started, he's making this uh, Soviet anthem sounds because they play quite often when they play World of Tanks. But to go through the whole wording and analyze it, I think it's pretty awesome because it's like, okay, then it goes Союз нерушимый Республик Свободных, okay? So the indestructible union of free republics сплотила навеки Великая Русь. I'm horrible at singing. I should be, if I drink like decent amount, I might do some good singing. But so uh, what it says, сплотила навеки, so was united forever by Великая Русь, by Great Russia. And here we go. So, this is kind of interesting detail that they put the Great Russia, and then they didn't say actually Russia, which is Россия, but Русь, which is another way to talk because word Ruсь originated from Kiev Rus before actually Russia took it. So it can be, I think, pretty interesting analysis of Soviet anthem, and then of course we can look at the history because originally uh, there was words of Stalin. ARS. I'm curious. Thank you so much for your donation. I got donation in ARS. Okay, it's Argentina. Oh, the guys have pesos in there, but thank you so much. Wow, even Argentina. This is so cool. Muchas gracias. I don't want to say senor. It's not correct, right? It'll be camarada. Muchas gracias, camarada. Me gustas chichis grandes. I don't know what that means, but I learned it while picking apples with Mexicans. Uh, so, Argentinian peso. Okay, so it could be quite interesting else. And then I said, they, before was a word of Stalin mentioned in the Soviet anthem. And of course, when Khrushchev said that Stalin is not cool anymore, they also changed the wording. Then, of course, now Putin didn't like the new Russian anthem, so he ordered to take the music back from Soviet anthem and just change words. So now words are, about Great Russia, but the anthem is actually original Soviet Union anthem. Okay, did you ever watch the Dagestan massacre? No, I think I didn't see it. I mean, I know about Chechnya war a little bit, but not much. Why? Wait, they still use? Well, not still. They had um, like Russian anthem, and then Stalin said, "Stalin." Oh, wow, that's bad. I called Putin Stalin. Putin actually said that we need to go back and use the music from the Soviet anthem because it was so powerful, and they just changed the wording because there is no more Союз нерушимый, no more Unbreakable Union. So there's like you can look up the words, but there is a change. Did you ever watch USSR version of Sherlock Holmes? Oh heck yeah, amazing show, amazing. I just watched on the plane American comedy, and I was like, oh come on. I think they did amazing job on that Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. It was a really good show. So, all right, guys. Well, I will be wrapping up. Thank you so much for joining today. Uh, so we will talk to you soon. On my next project, I'm gonna work on the video about Soviet funerals, part two. Uh, so I think you're gonna like it. And then I'm thinking I might work on the Soviet anthem uh, analysis. So we'll talk to you soon. Happy, or let's see, Happy Independence Day. The real Soviet will say that. You don't say Happy Fourth. I constantly harass my American co-workers because they don't say like Happy 25th. They say, or Merry 25th for Christmas. They say Merry Christmas, or Happy Labor Day or something. But then Happy Fourth. I like, what's going on? What the heck was the fourth? So Happy 3.6. Hey, barbecue is over. You can actually join me. Thank you so much. Always enjoy your comments. So thank you for joining again. I mean, it wasn't great, but wasn't terrible, right? Or wasn't terrible, but it was actually great. I appreciate so much you guys joining me. And we will talk to you soon. Всего хорошего. До свидания. Goodbye. We'll see you soon.